Now at 6:30, yesterday we told you about what Senator John Ossoff's trying to do to help peach growers. Today we now know the counties that will get that help. Those counties and the latest updates all up next.
Information he has that we don't already have in the public eye, but it's certainly possible that this could be very crucial information for Jack Smith's investigation.
Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger is scheduled to sit down with federal prosecutors today in Atlanta. The latest development in the federal investigation into former President Donald Trump and his allies.
And we've got excessive heat warnings out to the west. All of that heat sliding towards central Georgia. Our actual air temperature near that triple-digit mark. You know that means it's going to feel hotter than that. I'll show you when it happens next.
13 WMAZ morning starts now. Good morning. Happy Wednesday. You're halfway through the work week. The time is now 6:30 on this June 28th. I'm Caitlin Heck here with meteorologist Alex Forbes. And we are just talking all kinds of heat today.
Oh, not only today, but on into the week ahead as well, because we've got feels like temperatures potentially 100 plus. In fact, I said potentially. I'm fairly confident we're going to be 100 plus and then some for several days. So let's check it all out. There's a live look. Interstate 75 this morning down at Perry Parkway in Houston County. It's 67 in Warner Robins, 66 in Perry, and in Macon, 67 in Byron, waking up to 68 in Fort Valley, 66 in Gray, and 63 in Forsyth. So 50 is not all that far away. In fact, a couple spots in the 50s up in the North Georgia mountains this morning. Otherwise, 70s down to the south, 72 in Vidalia, 70 in Cordele, and 70 in Americus right now. But we are dry across central Georgia. No showers, no storms, really not a whole lot going on across the southeast either. Did see a flare-up of activity here in the last little bit near the Tallahassee area, but that's down there. That's not coming towards central Georgia. Not going to be a concern for us. What is going to be a concern is not only the heat, but the high UV index we're going to have today across the area. So 95 going to be the high temperature, but if you're spending any amount of time outside, you are going to want the sunscreen because you are going to be able to burn relatively quickly. The humidity is going to be on the lower side today, but it's going to begin to return here in the days to come, and we'll talk about when those highs are near 100. All comes your way here in just a moment.
Thank you, Alex. Today, a developer is back to the drawing board as the Bibb zoning board vote gets closer. Roland Engineering wants to build hundreds of homes on a rural road in South Bibb, but the board wants a new plan from the group. It might not look like too much right now, but a developer wants to build about 370 additional houses here, backing right up to a small neighborhood. Rocky Creek Estates came up with at the June 12th zoning meeting. The proposal involves rezoning a piece of property on Jennifer Drive, currently labeled as commercial. Some neighbors in the area worry about how the developers would build on marshy ground there.
If they build there, you're between two creeks. There is abundance of snakes. You take their habitat away, they're going to go what's there.
According to our partners at Mercer Center for Collaborative Journalism, the zoning board was not satisfied with Roland Engineering's first plan. They'll present a new one in July. Well, Macon's district attorney is saying she's working with the U.S. Attorney's Office on possible charges against an anti-Semitic group that protested in central Georgia last week. DA Anita Howard is the latest to condemn the group, which law enforcement suspects also left anti-Jewish hate flyers in driveways in Houston County. Then members protested outside Macon's Temple Beth Israel and hung a blow-up doll representing a gay Jewish man from a street sign. In a news release, Howard wrote that, quote, bigotry and hate have no place here. Her office is working with federal prosecutors to investigate the case and possible charges against the group's leader, John Menadeo. Warner Robins police told us this week they are also looking into charging group members with hate crimes or domestic terrorism. Friday, Bibb County deputies arrested Menadeo and charged him with disorderly conduct and public disturbance. He was out of jail and protesting again the next day. Well, new information from a story that we brought you yesterday. We now know the central Georgia counties getting federal funding to help after a deep freeze destroyed the peach crop. The agriculture secretary declared a natural disaster, and that makes federal money available to Georgia farmers. It includes Macon, Peach, and Taylor as primary counties, plus 10 additional counties in central Georgia as secondary counties. That includes Bibb and Houston. The application deadline for the money is February of next year. The money can be applied to things like equipment or livestock replacement, reorganizing farming operations, or refinancing a loan. A high-speed chase through Warner Robins over the weekend raised some questions for those who saw it. According to Warner Robins Interim Assistant Chief Roy Whitehead, the current pursuit policy has been in place for years. 3 years ago, former Police Chief John Wagner said that they chase only for the most serious crimes, and it's still that same policy today. Sunday, 51-year-old Todd Eric Jones Jr. rammed his car into someone else, fired shots, and then stole a car, and that's why police said they decided to chase him. Captain Clay Chambers with Houston County Sheriff's Office says they use those same standards as Warner Robins to evaluate the risk of catching a suspect.
Well, the deputies are trained to use due regard and do so, and such the supervisors are also trained that if it doesn't meet policy or the location and the time of the pursuit does not warrant a pursuit, they will terminate the pursuit.
Chambers says if you see a chase, pull off to the side of the road if possible and wait until the chase passes. An update now to a story that we told you about yesterday afternoon. People living in a Macon hotel say their water is back off after briefly coming back on. Tenants at the Wood Springs Hotel in West Macon say they went 5 days without running water. It's now a back and forth between the tenants and management. People in the hotel say there's a leaky pipe, and while management has kept them updated and provided bottled water, they're still frustrated. The complex is under new management. They told us yesterday that the water was back on, and a resident did confirm that. But then a few hours later, we got another email from a resident saying the water was back off again. 6:36, Georgia Secretary of State is calling for harsher penalties for anyone who tampers with the state's voting machines. Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger called on Georgia lawmakers to increase fines and jail time. He says anyone found guilty of the crime should be hit with a $1 million fine and a minimum 10-year prison sentence. Right now, the penalty is a $10,000 fine and 1 to 10 years in prison. Raffensperger says, quote, part of ensuring security is deterring criminal actors. The other part is prosecuting those criminals to the fullest extent of the law. Meanwhile, Secretary Raffensperger is scheduled to sit down with federal prosecutors today in Atlanta. It is the latest development in the federal investigation into former President Donald Trump and his allies connected to the 2020 election.
It's hard to tell what information he has that we don't already have in the public eye, but it's certainly possible that this could be very crucial information for Jack Smith's investigation.
It is the Secretary's first interview with the Department of Justice. Raffensperger testified to the January 6th committee last year about the former president's search for more votes in the state and how it impacted his job. While there is quite a bit of overlap into the Fulton County DA's investigation, the two are independent and will not relate to one another, but it's likely prosecutions are to follow from both the DOJ and the DA.
Art has a way to help heal a community from trauma that it has faced. And so Mayor Bottoms recognized that art could help provide a way for us, for this current and future generation, to honor those that have passed away in this tragedy.
You can find a mural in the heart of Atlanta City Hall grounds. Well, Monroe County will get a chunk of change to replace a bridge on Old Brent Road. It's part of $17 million in grants from the state. Governor Brian Kemp's office announced those grants yesterday. Monroe will get nearly $800,000 to replace the bridge. It's been closed since last year due to structural failures. The governor's office says the new bridge would be prefabricated, allowing it to be open to traffic and reduce flooding that can happen further upstream on State Route 83. As Pride Month comes to a close, we want to share another fact about LGBTQ+ history hiding in plain sight. Next, we'll have more on the famous statue and the truth hidden in its history. As July 4th approaches, Airbnb wants to remind you that they are cracking down on loud parties. What you need to know before booking your Independence Day trip coming up next. Right now, though, the time is 6:38. If you are trying to make those Independence Day weekend plans, find some way to get some kind of escape from the heat.
That's right. May I suggest the pool for
That's
this
where
weekend.
I will be.
Yeah, it's going to be hot across central Georgia. The hottest temperatures we've seen so far this year. It's not going to come close to last year, I don't think, in terms of that 106, 107 nonsense we were dealing with. But it is going to be hot nonetheless. So let's get to it. A nice sunrise waking up in Dublin this morning. The sun is now officially above the horizon. Those sunrise times now continuing to get later and later after we pass the summer solstice. In fact, our latest sunset time, so the sunrise and sunset times offset from the solstice, that comes your way here in just the next few days, and then that will continue to get earlier on into the winter solstice. 66 now in Macon, 67 in Warner Robins, 63 in Eastman, so cooler than we were yesterday morning, also dry across central Georgia. Some big heat out to the west, excessive heat warnings, Texas, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, the Nashville area included within that. All of that sliding towards central Georgia, and it's going to be here before you know it. Also coming in from the north, you might have seen some pictures out of Chicago yesterday, some wildfire smoke from Canada. Well, some of that's going to be able to make its way into the upper levels of our atmosphere today and tomorrow, so you're going to notice some hazy skies across central Georgia. But not going to notice much in the way of cloud cover because we're not going to see much of it. The 90s by the noon hour, mid-90s later this afternoon. Again, not going to be looking at too much in the way of cloud cover, so able to warm up as much as we can in the day. Also going to be a day with a high UV index, so certainly going to want the sunscreen outside. Go Thursday morning, temperatures near 70. Thursday afternoon, how about mid-90s? In fact, Future View now has us touching 100 in Macon tomorrow. We'll see. I think I've got about 98 or so, but that is going to be a possibility. Then on into Friday. And what I want to emphasize on Thursday and Friday is that we do have a rain chance, in fact, a storm chance both days, and it's just a question of when those storms come through. There we go. This is a new run of Future View here. Friday afternoon and evening. With high pressure down to the south and to the west, we're going to get waves of storms riding around it. So that is going to be a possibility not only tomorrow, but then into Friday. For the weekend, I think we settle into more of the summertime pattern with afternoon showers and storms, and that's going to continue through the 4th of July. There we go into Tuesday at about 5 p.m. Again, not a washout, but we are going to be looking at the possibility of showers and storms across central Georgia. So that's going to be at about 40%. A high temperature of 94. It is going to feel like 100 plus. Sunset on the 4th at 8:46. So if you're looking for a fireworks time, I think after 9 p.m. is probably going to be your best bet because, of course, the sunset's at 8:46, but we still have light in the sky for a little while after that. The Braves and the Twins, they are up at Truist Park this afternoon. Not quite as hot up there. Also an early game, 12:20 is first pitch, temperature at 83 with tons of sun warming up through the game time hours and lower humidity. Again, not necessarily low humidity, but lower than we could be for this time of year. 95 going to be the high temperature back here at central Georgia with a high UV index. Winds out of the northwest at about 5 to 10. There's your 7-day forecast, and there's the first 100-degree high temperature of the year. A 30% chance of rain Thursday through Saturday where that 100-degree temperature occurs. It is also going to be possible Thursday and Friday, but then we begin to cool down to a chilly 94 for the 4th of July.